caught in the middle of a political game between those who want to expand the benefit and those who they say don't. I come in the middle. I want people to get off the benefit because they have a job. And I don't want to play politics with someone's economic condition. And that's exactly what we're hearing with this income inequality argument, all this bull crap. They're playing politics with people's economic conditions and pitting, the Joneses against the Smiths. Class warfare is all that this is. It's kind of a little tangent that I've had there, but it also goes in line with what I'm talking about. This political hot potato of the millennium. You know what's really going on here? I'm looking at my January 20th edition of Time magazine. Yeah, I get Time magazine. Mostly for the entertainment value, but it makes you think. I also get the National Review, if that makes matters any better. So, on the picture is the $16 trillion woman, Janet Yellen, the new head of the Federal Reserve. She looks like she's dead on this cover. Her eyes are open. She has a blank stare, but she's as white as a ghost and looks like this is a embalmed body, to be honest with you. But immediately when I saw this cover, the thought that ran through my mind was political hot potato. You want to know what's going on here, and I want to be careful here. I'm not one of these, the Fed, gold standard, the Illuminati is running the whole show kind of people. But what is going on here is some screwed up policy that's been in play for a long, long period of time. And we don't really know how the Fed works. I don't think a lot of us even know. I mean, there are 80%. What has been the biggest news story that we've been talking about in the last few years? The most consistent one, Obamacare. There was a survey that was released the other day from Enroll America. That's Obama's own wing, that shows 68% of uninsured adults had not yet logged on to the exchanges. 69% of the uninsured were unaware of the tax subsidies. 81% of uninsured adults were unaware of the deadline to sign up for health insurance to avoid the individual mandate tax penalty. Can you believe that? The single biggest, most talked about story of the past 3 or 4 years, Obamacare, and those kinds of people out there have no idea the penalties, where to sign up, or even have taken the time to sign up. So how many people even know or understand about the Federal Reserve? I'm not sure I even know or understand what's going on with the Federal Reserve. But one thing I do know is that there's been this policy in play that the Federal Reserve is basically printing money to buy bonds to keep the economy going. It is a bailout of the American economy. Our finances in this country are so screwed up, we're so far in debt, $17 trillion, that this quantitative easing policy, this printing of money to buy, that is not even backed by gold. We have printed so much money. There's some people I've heard talk about there may not even be gold in Fort Knox anymore. I think I heard Glenn Beck rail on that the other day. There's this website called zerohedge.com or something that I've just started to scratch the surface of. I'm not saying that Glenn Beck is a expert on all things, but what's happening here, and you all need to know this, is each administration, each generation of government leaders are trying to avoid the big kahuna in the room, and that is this debt, that is our unsustainable monetary policies, that is all of this stuff. And it is a political hot potato. They're just passing it around. It's like musical chairs. There's 5 people and 4 chairs, and every so often the music stops and someone gets eliminated. Someone loses a seat. And what's happening right now with our finances in this country is we are printing so much money that that it's really going to be if we experience another meltdown like we did a few years ago that we've never recovered from, by the way. The money's going to be worthless. There are people that are playing loose with our money and our economic policy that are unaccountable to the American people, and we don't even know who they are or what they do. And the other troubling thing with this time cover, it says the $16 trillion woman. The U.S. economy is now in her hands. What Janet Yellen will do with it. Now, am I the only person in the room that thinks it's a little troubling that this person has the U.S. economy in her hands? Why not the President of the United States? Now, I know that this president cannot be held accountable for anything bad that goes on, whether it be the economy or whether it be in Iraq, where we could get on that, where we have lost the war in Iraq. We're losing that because of this president and his head-up-ass policies. Or maybe in his own marriage, things that go wrong. I don't know. I'm just reading the Drudge Report. This president can't be blamed for anything. But what's wrong with us when we say that this woman has the U.S. economy in her hands? That should be the President of the United States, regardless of who he is. That should be the Congress of the United States. Somebody other than some embalmed-looking woman on the cover of Time magazine should be responsible for the economy of this country. Someone should be responsible for the 30 million people that have been added to the food stamp rolls since 2000. Someone should be responsible for the $17 trillion in debt. Someone should be responsible for the fact that Social Security, that millions of elderly in this country were told would be there for them, may not be there for them because the program is bankrupt. Someone should be responsible for cooking the unemployment figures where they're telling us it's 6.7%. They're pissing on our leg and saying it's raining, and we're getting revised job numbers, job creation numbers that are constantly lowered. We're not creating the jobs that we think we're creating every month. The gross domestic product isn't growing. All of this stuff. Someone should be held responsible than a bureaucrat. We have to make our politicians held responsible, and we have to quit playing this game of political hot potato. At some point in time, it may not be today or tomorrow or next year or whatever, but there's no such thing as a permanent free lunch. And we're living off of credit. We're living off a bunk financial system right now where we can just think we can print money, tax, spend, borrow, whatever, and blame all the potential problems on the rich and just tax them more. That's dangerous. That's dangerous for not only our generation, that's dangerous really for our kids and especially our grandkids, and that's immoral. The president go around talking about deficits, debt being immoral under George Bush, hikes it up $10 trillion on his own. Suddenly we don't talk about immoral deficits anymore and immoral debt. Well, we should be, and we should be outraged. Even if the economy were to recover from this political hot potato that the Fed is playing through quantitative easing, that this administration is playing with stimulus and borrowing money to jumpstart the economy. You want to know what jumpstarts the economy? Not government programs or screwy borrowing or printing of excess money. Small business growth. Yeah, big business, sure. Apple, Google, whatnot. It's the small business. It's the million-dollar babies that grow up in the small businesses and provide for a niche. They're the ones that grow the economy. People having more of their money. It is time that we lighten the punitive tax burden in this country, get government back within its means, and get people working together so we can all share in the bounty of American prosperity. Every single one of us. And that doesn't mean by taxing people to spread the wealth down. That means by people getting a paycheck and working and providing for themselves. And if we continue to play this game of a political hot potato, ladies and gentlemen, if we continue to play this game and kick the can down the road, there's going to be nothing left. There's going to be nothing left for our kids and our grandkids, and everyone's going to be looking around, pretending and dressing like they're in Europe, because that's the kind of country we'll be. Where 12, 13, 14% unemployment is considered good, but you have the government to thank for it all. Well, I'm sorry I didn't get to the Chris Christie issue. Maybe on the next podcast we'll get to that. I want to thank Red State Talk Radio for inviting me back on to the to the network. Greatly appreciate being a part of that. Also, the 405 network and my website, conservativeunderground1776.blogspot.com. And, of course, email me your stories about maybe some college stories that you had, as we talked about at the beginning of the podcast, but also, more importantly, what happens when your pipes fall?
After
Winter stories there.
the party's over. They say that all good things must end.
And as always, good things must end, and they do here on this edition of the Conservative Underground. As always, may the road rise up to meet you. May the wind always be at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face and rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hands. Good day, everybody. Be safe.